Howdily doodly there, neighborinos. Hope you're having a flanderific day. Oh, let me turn the sound on real quick. There we go. Let there be sound. Oh, man. Yeah, I had to... Just kind of wanted to take a break from Rivals. Wanted to be able to kind of sit back, relax my back. Since I sit so close to the screen when I play Rivals. Because, you know, I kind of need to. What do you mean bed is too far? That's bullshit. Ah, man, I am soon gonna have to go ahead, well, after the stream, I should say, I'm gonna have to go ahead and look on how to fucking take the battery out of my car. Which is gonna be really annoying. But, I mean, it's better than it fucking having to be towed. Which, I mean, like I said in the SFC stream, that is still not off the table. I might have to have it towed. Oh, let me go ahead and put away all of this bullshit from building the pumpkin. Look at that thing. That is amazing. I haven't asked Blake to come on in a long time, and I kind of have to ask him to get on. Or he won't get on. Just because, like, normally I would like bully him to get on because I would be home at like 7 or whatever. But since that guy went and got himself fired, I've been having to close every night, and I'm just, you know, kind of tired when I get home and fucking forget. If you bully me to bully him, I'll remember, but I don't know. So yeah, if you want to see some more exciting Minecraft content, let me know. Let me know on stream. Let me know in the YouTube comments below. And I will get right... Why do I still have pumpkins on me? Oh, that's annoying. Let me see, I might just be able to throw it in a chest somewhere. Oof. Oof. Damn, I really filled up this entire fucking place with pumpkins. That's annoying. I just need like one empty space. I don't really want to fly over there, because then I'd have to refill my rockets. I probably should refill my rockets regardless, but you know. Whatever. Oh, I filled up all of these barrels too. I'm a menace. We'll throw them in here. And I gotta sort the bullshit in the sorter here at some point. Because I'm sure that's accumulating, because I don't remember the last time I cleared it out. Let's grab all the blockfish. Yeah, this is just gonna be one ginormous mess. Both, like, in-game and in real life. I'm not very, like, mechanically apt, I guess we'll say. I mean, I'm not stupid. I can use tools. You know, I'm not one of these guys who's never picked up a hammer before, but, you know. When it comes to car shit, I'm really not that helpful. All of my friends were the car guys, not me. We've got Blockfish, Stripies, and Brinleys. That's convenient. I think I had a sky one, right? Yeah, Sky Rose. Oh, that's a glitter. Ooh. Okay. Aww. That one's got to go in the trash. Wait, do we not have any green? Oh, here we go, here we go, here we go. There we go. You go in, lay trash. Bold and brash, more like belongs in the trash. Stripey, I think, is the next one. Or no, Stripey was the one we just fucking did. Flopper, Clay, Brinley. We've got Brinleys, I think. Yeah. Oh, these are glitters. Yeah, let's not fuck these up. It's a shame. Well, no, because these would all be different. I was gonna say I could have got the clankers to sort these for me, but yeah, even if we were back in like the original iteration of the clankers, ugh, they would put every one of these in an individual chest instead of like sorting them by color. Nice. Do we not have a yellow? What? Yeah, I guess it would have to go in the middle. Oh, fucking dumbass. Cool, and then all of those are just glitters. Awesome. Fuck, not awesome. Ah, no, I need that. I don't need that, and I don't need that. So many fish to sort. But you know, gotta catch 'em all. Wow, okay, only 2. That's actually appropriate. Go for the spotty next. Or, oh, I just realized. Nice. I think this one is the cob. Yes. Disappointing. I guess we'll leave him here. Let's actually find the floppers next, because then we can go and dump out the rest. Oh. Damn it. The other one must have been a real good escape artist. I don't know where the hell he went. Unless he, like, died as he hit the water or something. Whatever. Looks like he's gone. Oh, would you look at that? Perfect. That's not very convenient now, is it? Relatively few fish were harmed in the making of this video. Is this the cob that got away? Only one way to find out, I suppose. I think it is. I think it was in here. Wait, what? Weird. Red plum, that's it, yeah. I knew he would be a menace later, which is why I wanted him to die immediately. He thought he got away. That sucks. That sucks. Alright, time to execute some fish. Yo! Guess we gotta go one at a time. Next. All right. That's weird. Oh. Cool. Wait, Betty's? I thought I had already gone through the Betty's. Okay. It's back here. Nice. I'm so excited. This is almost done. I've been wanting to clear these out for like forever. And I just kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And now here we are, finally getting shit done. Was the last one Sunstreaks? Yeah. Damn. That's fucked up. I don't know how I didn't notice they were both green before. That's odd. Very odd. Well, there we go. Aw, man, if only we had this atmosphere going while I was reading The Raven a couple nights ago. That would have been really cool. And I just realized I probably should have done the Telltale Heart instead, but, you know, it's fine. It's okay. I want to do something cool next year. It's a little different, but I'll have to see. Because, I mean, I don't know. I guess I can spoil this, because, like, I don't know how many of you watching will actually be here for the Halloween special. The Halloween special always gets very poor viewership for whatever reason. I don't know why. I am literally on the Edgar Allan Poe website. That's awesome, Otto. That's awesome. But I was thinking for the next Halloween special, I would need to write a script for like a radio show, right? And it's like a normal radio show and everything, and we'll listen to like this one record I can play because I know that it won't be copy striked because as far as I know, I'm the only one who owns the album, and on Discogs I'm the only one who has posted the album. So I might play that, and then, like, some spooky stuff will happen. Ooh. But I'm not going to spoil. I think I know what I want it to be, but I'm not going to spoil it. I think Slicks knows what it is, but, you know. I am so glad to hear that I got you into Edgar Allan Poe. Was it The Pit and the Pendulum? That you were just like, ah, man, I gotta check this dude out, you know? Fuck, they're gonna despawn, and these are all unique fish. I've decided to have you on while I read the Pit and the Pendulum story. That's awesome. I'm so glad that I got you into Poe. Yeah, Poe is awesome. Yeah, he's such a phenomenal writer. Shakespeare should take some fucking lessons. Again, I don't know why English teachers are over there like slobbing on Shakespeare's knob. And it's like, but Poe is right there. I literally could glaze Edgar Allan Poe all night long. Like, he just writes such captivating stories, man. I've always been I was about to say I might heat up some food while I take a shower, then read it. I'm just browsing the website. I mean, either way, I'm still glad I've got you on the website, you know, checking him out. But yeah, no, like I said, I could glaze Edgar Allan Poe for an entire stream. Like, he just writes such captivating stories, and maybe it's just that I'm a fan of horror, and Poe clearly is like the godfather of horror. Like, I don't know. Ugh. I can't think of anything quite like his work, like his works before him. TV show. I did read one chapter of 1984 before bed last night. It talked about Winston's family. Oh, yeah, how he has a vague memory of his mother, and they were hiding in a subway tunnel. Yeah. And that he feels that he is to blame for his mother and sister's death. And he doesn't really remember his father. Yeah. That comes up a little bit later in the book. But I don't think he spends too much time really talking about that. It's an interesting, like, little side mystery in the novel. Honestly, I could glaze George Orwell too. Like, he's my favorite socialist. Because he's very honest about socialism, I suppose. And it's just the world building that he does is just so amazing. And that really shows off in 1984. Animal Farm is amazing too. I love Animal Farm, but I feel like the world building is better in 1984. Though narratively, I think I like Animal Farm better. Like, just the slow descent, and you're like, ah, shit, I know where this is going, you know? And he knows how to write a banger of an ending, which is just amazing. Like, the pigs walking upright and staying in, like, the farmhouse and sleeping on the bed and working the animals harder than the humans ever did, and then renaming Animal Farm back to Mana Farm. Like, yeah, that was amazing. But then again, the end, I'm not gonna spoil it. Well, I mean, I guess I can kind of talk about it, because since you, like, read the last page, but, like, he had overcome the victory over, he had, like, won the victory over himself. He loved Big Brother. Oh, heartbreaking yet incredible. Just so good. Like, it gives me like goosebumps. It's so amazing. Yeah, that ending makes me want to read it more. Yeah, especially once you understand, like, everything that happens, like what leads to that point, it makes it even better. Yeah, yeah. And like I said, despite being a very well-known and, like, kind of rich man, I want to say that, according to this timeline I'm looking, yeah, and I want to say that he died, like, poor, and on top of it, he was just, like, raving in the streets, basically, and died on, like, a park bench. And some scientists, or I guess med students, did this, like, study where they had to guess what, like, a famous person died of, and all they're given is just, like, not even a name. They're just given, like, the circumstances surrounding their death. And they did that for Edgar Allan Poe, and the doctor said rabies. So, thought that was kind of weird. 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 Also, I used to think this was kind of creepy. And you're gonna find out why I say that in a minute, and then you're gonna be like, "What the fuck? That is creepy. Why would you say it's not creepy?" But he married when he was like 20 or 30 something. He married his 14-year-old cousin. But and like I said, at first I thought that was really creepy and weird and gross. But it turns out that they never like had relations. And the only reason that he did it was because she was going to be married off to some dude that, like, I think was kind of a dick or something. So to save her from, like, having to be married to like, that dick, he married her. So there's another little weird Edgar Allan Poe fact. And, like, people used to say that, like, he would treat her, you know, like you would your cousin. Like, they would play leapfrog and shit. That's interesting. Never knew that detail. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting Poe facts. You know, he's just a very odd dude who had a lot happen, you know? Oh, we've already got the yellow-red sunstreak. That's a cool-looking fish. Actually, you know what? I'm going to save it. Since that's such a cool-looking fish, I think I'm going to go ahead and throw it in my pond. I don't remember his cousin's name. And then I want to say that she died and, like, he went a little crazy. I want to say he had, like, a lot of deaths in his family that happened in, like, quick succession. I was going to say, I thought Virginia was her name. But I kept wanting to say Virginia Dare, and it's not Virginia Dare, because Virginia Dare is the Roanoke girl. Alright. I think that's enough fishing for today. Let me go ahead and do some light sorting. Actually, maybe we'll do some heavy sorting. I don't know. Yeah, we'll do some heavy sorting. That sounds right. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Mask of the Red Death was written around that time. Yeah, and I want to say tuberculosis also got his mother. Because, you know, of course, tuberculosis was really, like, common and fatal around that time. You know what? For shits and gigs, since I'm just sitting here waiting for shit to sort, I'm gonna go ahead and read The Pit and the Pendulum. I know it's not a Halloween stream, but... Or wait, let me see how long it is. Always gotta love illustrations from every... unsettling illustrations from every Poe story. Yeah, it's not that long. Let me read it. The Pit and the Pendulum by Edgar Allan Poe, 1842. I was sick unto death, with that long agony. And when they at length unbound me, and I was permitted to sit, I felt that my senses were leaving me. The dread sentence of death, was the last of distinct accentuation which reached my ears. After that the sound of the inquisitorial voices seemed merged in one dreamy indeterminate hum. It conveyed to my soul the idea of revolution, perhaps from its association in fancy with the burr of a windmill wheel. This only for a brief period, for presently I heard no more. Yet for a while I saw, but with how terrible an exaggeration, I saw the lips of the black-robed judges. They appeared to me whiter than the sheet upon which I trace these words, and thin even to grotesqueness, thin with the intensity of their expression, of firmness, of immovable resolution, of stern contempt of human torture. I saw that the decree of what to me was fate were still issuing from those lips. I saw them writhe with a deadly locution. I saw them fashion the syllables of my name, and I shuddered because no sound succeeded. I saw, too, for a few moments of delirious horror, the soft and nearly imperceptible waving of the stable draperies which enwrapped the walls of the apartment, and then my vision fell upon the 7 tall candles upon the table. At first they wore the aspect of charity, and seemed white and slender angels who could save me. But then, all at once, there came a most deadly nausea over my spirit, and I felt every fiber in my frame thrill as if I had touched the wire of a galvanic battery, while the angel forms became meaningless specters, with heads of flame, and I saw that from them there would be no help. And then there stole into my fancy like a I'm sorry, I can't read this. Typically when I read something, I'll go through and I'll read it one time before, especially when it's Poe, because he likes to use big, antiquated words. And then there stole into my fancy like a rich musical note the thought of what sweet rest there must be in the grave. The sentence had passed, and it appeared to me that a very long interval of time elapsed before any stir of motion in the assembly interrupted the current of my meditations. Silence, stillness, night were the universe. I had swooned, but still will not say that all of consciousness was lost. What of it there remained I will not attempt to define or even to describe, yet all was not lost. In the deepest slumber, no. In delirium, no. In a swoon, no. In death, no. Even in the grave, all is lost. Else there is no immortality for man. Arousing from the most profound of slumbers, we break the gossamer web of some dream. Yet in second afterward, so frail may that web have been, we remember not that we have dreamed. In the return to life from the swoon there are two stages. First, that of the sense of mental or spiritual. Secondly, that of the sense of physical existence. It seems probable that if upon reaching that second stage we could recall the impressions of the first, we should find these impressions eloquent in memories of the gulf beyond. And that gulf is what? How at last shall we distinguish its shadows from those of the tomb? I was sick, sick unto death with that long agony, and when they... Oh, I don't have the full story here. Well, let me see if I can get more of it. I was sick, sick unto death with that long agony, and when they at length unbound me, and I was permitted to sit, I felt that my senses were leaving me. Full repetition not needed here for clarity. So far I had not opened my eyes. I felt that I lay upon my back, unbound. I reached out my hand, and it fell heavily upon something damp and hard. He said damp and hard. There I suffered it to remain for many minutes, while I strove to imagine where and what I could be. I longed, yet dared not to employ my vision. I dreaded the first glance at objects around me. It was not that I feared to look upon things horrible, but that I grew aghast lest there should be nothing to see. At last, with a wild desperation at heart, I quickly unclosed my eyes. That is a really cool way to say that you opened your eyes. I quickly unclosed my eyes. He's just got away with words, bro. My worst thoughts then were confirmed. The blackness of eternal night encompassed me. I struggled for breath. The intensity of the darkness seemed to oppress and stifle me. The atmosphere was intolerably close. I still lay quietly, and made effort to exercise my reason. I brought to mind the inquisitorial proceedings, and attempted from that point to deduce my real condition. The sentence had been passed, and it appeared to me that a very long interval of time had since elapsed. Yet not for a moment did I suppose myself actually dead. Such a superstition notwithstanding, what we read in fiction is altogether inconsistent with real existence. But where and in what state was I? The condemned to death, I knew, perished around, usually at the auto da fe. Is it bad that I know that song, that word from a song? Auto da fe. And one of those had been held on the very night of the day of my trial. Had I been remanded to my dungeon to await the next sacrifice, which would not take place for many months? This I at once saw could not be. Victims had been in immediate demand. Moreover, my dungeon, as well as all the condemned cells at Toledo, had stone floors, and light was not altogether excluded. A fearful idea now suddenly drove the blood in torrents upon my heart, and for a brief period I once more relapsed into insensibility. Upon recovering, I at once started to my feet, trembling convulsively in every fibre. I thrust my arms wildly above and around me in all directions. I felt nothing, yet dreaded to move a step, lest I should be impeded by the walls of a tomb. Perspiration burst from every pore, and stood in cold, big beads upon my forehead. The agony of suspense grew at length intolerable, and I cautiously moved forward with my arms extended and my eyes straining from their sockets, in the hope of catching some faint ray of light. I proceeded for many paces, but still all was blackness and vacancy. I breathed more freely. It seemed evident that mine was not at least the most hideous of fates, and now I still continued to step cautiously onward. There came thronging upon my recollection 1,000 vague rumors of the horrors of Toledo. Of the dungeons there had been strange things narrated, fables I had always deemed them, but yet strange and too ghastly to repeat, save in a whisper. Was I left to perish of starvation in the subterranean world of darkness? Or what fate perhaps even more fearful awaited me? That the results would be death, and a death of more than customary bitterness. I knew too well the character of my judges to doubt. The mode and the hour were all that occupied or distracted me. My outstretched hands at length encountered some solid obstruction. It was a wall, seemingly of stone, masonry, very smooth, slimy, and cold. I followed it up, stepping with all the careful distrust with which certain antique narratives had inspired me. This process, however, afforded me no means of ascertaining the dimensions of my dungeon, as I might make its circuit and return to the point whence I set out. Without being aware of the fact, so perfectly uniformed seemed the wall. I therefore sought the knife which had been in my pocket when led into the inquisitorial chamber, but it was gone. My clothes had been exchanged for a coarse serge frock. I had thought of forcing the blade into some proportion of the masonry, so as to mark my point of departure. The difficulty, nevertheless, was but trivial, although in the disorder of my fancy it seemed at first insuperable. I tore a part of the helm of my robe and placed the fragment at full length and at right angles to the wall. In groping my way around the prison, I could not fail to recognize this at my return. So far, so good, but I had still little object in these researches. Circumstances had been sufficient to account for my want of courage to open my eyes. Before, but now seeing nothing, I resolved to know the extent of my dungeon, and the character of the prison in which I lay. I had advanced but a few steps, and when the remnant of the torn helm of my robe became entangled between my legs, I stumbled and fell violently on my face. In the confusion attending my fall, I did not immediately apprehend a somewhat startling circumstance, which yet in a few seconds afterward, and while I still lay prostrate, arrested my attention. It was this. My chin rested upon the floor of the prison, but my lips and the upper portion of my head touched nothing. At the same time my forehead seemed bathed in a clumsy vapor, and the peculiar smell of decayed fungus arose to my nostrils. I put my arm forward, and shuddered to find that I had fallen at the very brink of a circular pit, whose extent, of course, I had no means of ascertaining at that moment. Groping about the masonry just below the margin, I succeeded in dislodging a small fragment, and let it fall into the abyss. For many seconds I hearkened to its reverberations as it dashed against the sides of the chasm in its descent. At length there was a sullen plunge into water, succeeded by loud echoes. At the same moment there came a sound resembling the quick opening and a rapid closing of a door overhead, while a faint gleam of light flashed suddenly through the gloom and as suddenly faded away. I saw clearly the doom which had been prepared for me, and congratulated myself upon the timely accident by which I had escaped. Another step before my fall, and the world had seen me no more. And the death just avoided was of that very character which I had regarded as fabulous and frivolous in the tales respecting the Inquisition. To the victims of its tyranny there was no choice of death, with its direst physical agonies, or death with its most hideous mortal horrors. I had been reserved for the latter. By long suffering, my nerves had been unstrung until I trembled at the sound of my own voice, and had become in every respect a fitting subject for the species of torture which awaited me. Shaking in every limb, I groped my way back to the wall, resolving there to perish rather than risk the terrors of the pit. Night, as usual, set in with its oppressive darkness. Then came silence, stillness, and night. Yet not altogether so, for I could hear faintly the low moaning sound of motionless air through the dungeon. I had laid myself upon the ground, and remained there until I slept. Give me 1 second. I think I heard lightning, so I should probably do a quick little sleepies. No? What the fuck was that sound then? Weird. Upon waking, I found beside me a loaf and a pitcher with water. I was too much exhausted to reflect upon this circumstance, but I ate and drank with avidity. Shortly afterward, I resumed my efforts to ascertain the size of my prison. Finding the wall smooth, I followed it, counting my steps, which amounted to 52, and then I came to a corner. I turned and counted 50 again. When my robe trailed along something damp and slippery, it was a portion of the circumference of the pit. Thus I traveled the entire circuit, returning to the fragment of cloth, and found that my dungeon was somewhat less than 100 paces around. I had discovered the shape of the dungeon. It was square. For many hours afterward I lay upon my face, motionless, while my soul busied itself with recollections of my past life. There were many subjects of thought, of meditation. I thought of the inquisitorial proceedings, and of the strange but stern idea that justice, even when in error, has still an immovable attribute of majesty and power. How long I remained in this state I could not know. I know not, but when I again unclosed my eyes, the objects around me were visible. By a wild sulphurous luster, the origin of which I could not at first determine, I was enabled to see what extent and aspect of the prison. For the moment it did not occur to me to account for this. I was too much occupied in contemplating the novel, and at first the gladdening effect of a light. A few seconds sufficed, however, to bring reflection. 1,000 vague and fragmentary fancies crowded into my mind. A wild sulphurous luster was all that seemed to penetrate into the dungeon. He said penetrate. Yet all around the upper portion of the walls ran a series of figures in relief figures. Yet all around the upper portions of the wall ran a series of figures in relief. Figures of hideous and repulsive devices. Faces of fiends in aspects of menace, with skeleton forms and other more fearful images that mocked me. I observed that the outlines of those monstrous things were sufficiently distinct, but that their color seemed faded and blurred as if damp or mildew had been long at work upon them. I now noticed the floor, too, which was of stone, smooth and black, and slightly tarred or oily in appearance, giving off a faint sickly odor. I saw that the entire dungeon was of a vast size. Though I could not make out with exactness, the outline was square. The pit lay near one of the walls. In one of the angles of the dungeon, a very slight noise attracted my notice. Looking intently in that direction, I beheld several enormous rats issuing from the well which had been my deliverance. They came up in troops, hurriedly, with ravenous eyes, attracted no doubt by the scent of the meat upon the floor. I had not been aware that I had dropped a morsel of the coarse bread. They were wild, bold, and fierce, their red eyes glaring upon me as if they waited but for permission to complete their feast upon my flesh. I watched them with a kind of vague terror for some minutes, when a slight change in the atmosphere of the chamber attracted my attention. A peculiar smell, as of heated iron, now pervaded the dungeon. The vapor thickened fast, and a low, dumb humming sound soon became distinguishable. I turned my eyes upward, and for the first time perceived the ceiling of my prison. It was a smooth, dark metal, probably iron plates, whose massive framework intersected the roof in one vast piece. From the center of the ceiling, about 4 inches wide, extended a pendulum of enormous length. It appeared to be a giant scythe, with its edge upward and glittering in the dull light as it swung to and fro with a heavy, monotonous movement. I gazed upon it for some minutes in horror and in wonder. I could see the thin line of its glittering steel as it swept back and forth, gleaming and threatening, and then suddenly it flashed upon me its meaning. My trial, I knew, had been of those inquisitorial judgments which condemn to death by slow torture. The pit had been intended for me, had I ventured farther. Now another form of death awaited me, one equally fearful. Down, steadily down it came. I could have screamed with agony and terror. I saw that its sweep was designed to cross the region of my heart. It would reach me eventually, inch by inch, second by second. Down, steadily down it crept. I took note of its progress with the keenest of interest. Down, certainly, relentlessly down. I alternatively laughed and howled as the one or the other idea grew predominant. Down, still unceasingly, still inevitably down. I gasped and struggled at each vibration. I shrunk convulsively at its every sweep. My eyes followed it outward or upward whirls. With the eagerness of the most unmeaning despair, they closed themselves spasmodically at the descent. Although death would have been a relief, oh, how unspeakable! Still I quivered in every nerve to think how slight a sinking of the machinery would precipitate that keen, glistering axe upon my bosom. He said bosom. Yeah, it's like boobs. Boobs. It was hope that prompted the nerve to quiver, the frame to shrink. It was hope, the hope that triumphs on the rack, that whispers to the death condemned even in the dungeons of the Inquisition. I saw that 10 or 12 vibrations would bring the steel in actual contact with my robe, and with this observation there suddenly came over my spirit all the keen, collected calmness of despair. For the first time during many hours, or perhaps days, I thought. I pondered upon the wild alternative of escape. The bandage lay close to my lips. It was of coarse serge. I had noticed that the rats were wild and ravenous, their sharp teeth full of menace. These reflections were in no manner new, but now there flashed upon me what I believe was an inspiration. The half-formed thought of deliverance had passed over my mind even before I fully formed it into plan. I remembered the loaf of bread. The greasy smell of the meat that had drawn the vermin to the pit was still fresh upon my senses. With utmost exertion of my strength, I succeeded in rubbing the oily substance from the platter onto the bandage where it enveloped me. I then lay breathlessly still. At first the ravenous animals were startled and terrified at my motionless form. They retreated, squealing in terror. Soon, however, they returned, one by one, in groups of 2 and 3, then in full swarms. They clung to the bandage, and they pressed upon me in ever-increasing numbers. They gnawed and struggled and clambered upon my body, thrusting their cold snouts against my face. The measured movement of the pendulum disturbed them not at all. Down, still unceasingly still, inevitably down, I grew faint and sick and disgusted. Yet I knew that in a few minutes the struggle would be over. At length I felt that I was free. The syringical lay in shreds around me. The Surcingle. The Surcingle lay in shreds around me. The rats had accomplished in a few minutes what I had failed to do in many hours. With a steady moment, cautious, silent, scarcely daring to breathe, I slid from under the descending scythe and lay motionless upon the damp floor of the dungeon while my heart throbbed tumultuously even to suffocation. It was not too soon. Scarcely had I escaped when the pendulum stopped. I watched it for many minutes as it remained motionless, as if in sudden arrest. I could no longer doubt the doom prepared for me by monkish ingenuity in torture. The pendulum had been withdrawn. The inquisitorial vengeance had been reshaped. Scarcely had I dropped my head back upon the floor of the dungeon when there came a sound resembling the quick opening and as rapid closing of a door overhead, followed by a faint gleam of light that flashed suddenly through the gloom and as suddenly faded away. I shuddered, and yet I gasped for breath. For a moment I thought that I must have been consumed by the blazing heat of the fiery walls. A suffocating odor pervaded the prison. A deeper glow settled each moment in the eyes of the horrible figures which watched me from the walls. A deeper crimson, the color of blood, flowed through their shapes. I panted, I gasped. The heat rapidly increased, and once again I looked upward. There had been a change. The figures of the fiends upon the wall were now flames, real flames, which burned into my soul their lurid and ghastly luster. I saw that the entire iron wall was heated to redness, and as I breathed there came to my nostrils the breath of the vapor of heated iron. The suffocating odor spread through the dungeon. A shriek burst from my lips as I rushed to the edge of the pit. There was a loud clang as of many metal doors closing in haste, and at once the hellish vibration of sound again pervaded the prison. The heat had become intolerable, and the glowing walls seemed to press inward upon me. For a moment I thought of plunging into the abyss below, of seeking relief in death, but the moment was gone. The moment of the walls had been a calculated one. They were closing in, steadily, irresistibly forcing me toward the pit. At length there could be no mistake about their design. Their burning breath was upon my cheek, and they pressed me relentlessly onward. I staggered back, but the walls pressed still closer. I struggled no more, but the agony of my soul found vent in one long, long, and final scream of despair. I tottered on the very brink of the pit, one foot already over its edge. I felt that I tottered and fell. There was a discordant hum of human voices. There was a loud blast as of many trumpets. There was a harsh grating as of 1,000 thunders. The fiery walls rushed back. An outstretched arm caught my own as I fell, fainting into the abyss. It was that of General Lasalle. The French army had entered Toledo. The Inquisition was in the hands of its enemies. The end. Damn. Is this on Poe Stories? No, that makes you knowledgeable and experienced. Damn. What makes me knowledgeable and experienced? I just went chat GPT. The story is starting to get really intense. Yeah! The version you are reading is worded differently than I have. Yeah, yours is probably the correct version. I just got mine from chat GPT. Yeah, that's a real messed up story. That was really good. Yeah, Shakespeare can suck a fat dick. You mentioned a quote that was from a song. Oh! It's not a quote. It's just the French word or phrase. I forget what it is though. Is the only issue. It was just that French. Kind of funny. Oh, I need buttons. Yeah. Oh, wow, I really need to end the episode. Holy shit. I didn't realize how long that took me to read. That's unfortunate. We're not going to have time to clear out this, which is a mess. We at least cleared out the top portion, though, which is arguably the most important. I mean, I guess we can do a little bit while we're waiting for Otto, because I'll wait for Otto to find that phrase, and then we'll call it. You're good. I found it on ChatGPT. Or wait, let me... Auto-da-fe. I think it's from, I want to say it's from The Widow. Auto-da-fe. Da, 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 da. Let me see if I can find it. It's definitely a Mars Volta song. Televators. It's called Televators. That's the song. Alright, well, I'm going to go to bed. Thank you for watching, Otto. Thank you to anyone else may have tuned in and didn't chat with me. I really appreciate it. Thank you to the YouTube crowd who's going to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye. Yeah, I'm on Pose Story's website, and it was worded different from yours. Yeah. Thank you for the bedtime story. Yeah, I get to tell you a bedtime story this time. Alright. You too, Otto.